Hi.
Hello. Okay, week 4 out of 5. This is April 23rd if you're listening to the recording, and we're going to do experiments 10 through 16. We have a lot to cover today, so we're going to jump right in and work on these together. So, Mindware Experiment 10 is on page 225, and it's called Create Your Own Because Statement. In Mindware experiment number 10, you craft your own because statement to add to the end of your mantra. Remember, when you add a because statement after your initial positive message, the unconscious mind automatically starts justifying why your initial positive message is true and accepts its validity without question. There is a worksheet, but here are the guidelines. Number one, make sure your because statement is also a productive, positive outcome, something you either hope to achieve or have already achieved. Number two, be mindful of your wording. It will appear in your outside world picture. And number three, your mantra and your because statement can be completely unrelated topics. Okay, just making sure I read that right. Number four, follow the same guidelines in crafting your because statement as you would a good mantra. So make it in the positive, as if it's already happened or been solved. Make your statement believable and positive emotional impact. Again, when you add a because statement after your mantra, the unconscious mind automatically starts justifying why your initial positive message is true and accepts its validity without question. So, just like people in the Xerox line in the previous story, you can take advantage of the power of the word because very simply. If you even add the words, because I'm saying this mantra to the end of your mantra, your unconscious mind will immediately accept the validity of your mantra. Just like in the story, your mind does not care which reason you pick for change. It will accept any reason wholeheartedly. So let's practice a couple of these because statements or just a few examples. I know some of us have been using ChatGPT to help us come up with a mantra, and it'd be super easy to say, add a because statement afterwards. So, a because statement is going to basically prove to yourself why your mantra is happening. It's like an additional oomph to your believability. Um, does anybody have a mantra example that we could help you come up with a because statement for? All right, let me find the chapter and we'll use some of the examples in here. So let's see what chapter corresponds with this exercise. I went too far. Do, do, do. There's a lot of reading before we do the emotional scale, which I can't wait to get to. So here we go. So I'm financially abundant. There's the mantra. Because I'm getting good at thinking positively is the because statement. Money flows easily to me because I've learned to relax my thoughts. I have $1 million business because I have amazing customer service. I have a full appointment calendar because I attract positive clients. My business is growing by leaps and bounds because I talk to everyone about my business. So here's another one. I'm financially abundant. Here's one that so this is one that is working on two different things, but they can go together. I'm financially abundant because I eat healthy food every day. So even though they're kind of like different goals, they're still gonna your brain's still gonna receive it as true. So any questions on this, or do you need an example for yours? Okay. Mindware Experiment 11 is asking a better question, the sequel. So we've already done this, but this is kind of like a bonus Mindware experiment. So this is on page 227. It says, now you have a good handle on the power of the unconscious mind to solve problems for you, and you're keenly aware that because statements make your mantras much more effective. Next, in Mindware Experiment 11, you'll learn to combine better questions with the because statements to create a powerful tool for you. As you learned previously, questions instantly put both of the conscious and unconscious mind into problem-solving mode. Excuse me. In addition, you might recall from Mindware Experiment 8 that how questions should be left to the unconscious mind to answer. When you think about a how question with your conscious mind, it doesn't always feel good, and so this is why it's better to let your unconscious mind reveal the answers to those questions. However, there is a type of question which is perfectly suited for your conscious mind to answer, and that is why questions. Whereas answering how questions can hamper your business, why questions often elicit a more positive emotional response. So here's some examples of how questions. How am I going to do that? How can I talk to that many people? How will I learn everything I will need to do? How will I handle the workflow? How will I get that much product shipped? And this can start to induce stress. This is why how questions are better left not to be answered for the unconscious mind. On the other hand, asking why naturally elicits a because answer from you. A because answer is your mind's way of giving good reason and validation for a particular positive outcome to show up for you, and you may have also noticed that it feels good. You bypass all of the stressful feelings produced by how questions. After you ask why, your because answers might sound like this. So I want to earn $100,000 a year from my business. Why? Because it will make me feel good, because I like the idea of more money coming in, because I will feel like I'm making progress in my business, because it will be fun to have more money to spend, because I want to use the extra income to buy a car, because it will be cool to attain a goal I've set for myself, and so on and so on. Notice when you ask the question why, you are able to combine better questions with because statements. You are able to use words to your advantage to create a powerful tool for change. And good feelings, even when they come from a simple word such as why, always produces amazing results for your business. So for this experiment, write down your desire or your goal, write down what you want, and then ask yourself why. Use the guidelines you've learned for perfect language and create a long list of answers to that question, which will immediately generate a ton of good feelings for you. You can even do this Mindware experiment without the pen and paper. The next time you are waiting at a stoplight, just declare out loud what you want and then ask yourself why, and then answer the question with a whole list of because statements. So for this one, let's I need somebody to share their goal, give us an example, and then we'll come up with some because statements together. What's your goal?
Um, I would say lose 20 pounds.
Okay. And then you ask yourself, why? Why do I want to lose 20 pounds?
Because it will make me feel good because I'll fit into my favorite outfits because so there yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of because I'll feel healthier because my body won't hurt as much.
hmm
Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, it's easy to answer that why question versus the how. How am I going to lose 20 pounds? Then we're like overwhelmed, right? With all the what I have to do.
Oh
But
yeah.
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 So the
Okay.
why question feels better. Thank you. That was a good example.
Yeah.
Debbie, you unmuted. You want to share yours too?
Mine's kind of like work related. It's more of like I want to sponsor, I want to share LeBri more with new customers.
hmm
Um, but I do get overwhelmed because it's the how pops in there all the time. How
Yeah.
am I going to do that? I don't leave my house. I work a full-time job. So all these
Right.
negatives flow in there like instantly when I do that.
Yeah.
So if I change that wording like you just did with the because, why?
Yeah. So why do you want to sponsor more? Why do you want to help more people?
Well, I think LeBron is amazing. So there's that. Um, but more so helping other people with their skin, making them
Yep.
feel more confident in their skin.
Yep.
Um, it helps grow my business on top of that to
Hmm.
where I don't have to work so much.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the side by side big reasons of helping others. And then I'm just wore out working 9, 10 hour days right now. So,
Yeah. So I want to sponsor more people. Why? Because these products are amazing, because I want to help more people, because I want to work less, because I want to duplicate and teach others how to do what I do, because I want to work less and make more. Those are kind of the answers I heard you say.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anytime
That
you're like, this is my goal, I want to sponsor Y. And then, yeah, you rattled them off really fast. That was awesome. Good job, both of
um,
you.
thank you.
Mine is because I'm tired of counting to 12 every month.
What was your goal?
Mine, same as Debbie's,
Oh, say
but
sponsor. Okay, when you
I'm
said 12, I was
sometimes
like,
I
is she
just get
talking about
weary of
sponsoring?
counting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm tired of counting to 12 every month and then finally going.
for the
I joke about
qualified.
that on my death certificate, it's going to say cause of death, last day of the month.
Counting to 12.
Oh my God,
To
so
Oh,
push on
that's
the
relatable.
last day of
hilarious.
the month.
So Jess, since Jess is not a Labri consultant, we have to have 12 qualified lines to like m meet our rank. So on the last day of the month, I mean, it's been a long time since I've had to do that, but I remember it clearly, and I go through this with other executives, like getting to that 12 qualified. Okay, so I want to sponsor more because I won't have to count to 12 as often. I'll qualify more easily and effortlessly. I'll qualify earlier in the month. It will not say death by counting to 12 on my death certificate. I want to sponsor more because, and you could have similar reasons to Debbie too. Like you want to grow your business and you want to help others grow a business. So funny. Now I'm gonna laugh about counting to 12. Good examples, you guys. All right, any questions about the because statements or anything that's not flowing with this one? So really the biggest shift here is anytime you ask yourself how, go, no, 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 why? Not, you know how they have like the five W's, who,
Not
what,
how,
when,
but
where, why? How is not invited. How doesn't get included. We want why questions. How is good for like say it and release it. Anytime you're like, how am I going to do that? Not my job. Let it go. Not for me to figure out why. Why do I want this? Okay. Experiment number 12 is on page 230, and this is telling a new story. So this unfolds in 3 steps. Step 1, start paying attention to all the stories you're telling others around you. What stories do you tell your family, your friends, your coworkers, and others around you? You'll quickly find out that the stories you're telling others are often the same stories that you're telling yourself. Pay close attention to the stories themselves as well as the feelings they generate. Step 2, if you find yourself telling stories that don't make you feel so good and you don't want these negative feelings to persist, simply ask yourself, is this the story I want to be telling? Asking this question is another great opportunity for you to turn it around and tell a new story. It's also a great opportunity for you to turn off the automatic pilot type of thinking. And whether you choose to tell a new story or decide to keep on telling the same story by staying on automatic pilot, keep this in mind. Whatever story you are telling right now will come into your life again and again. Step 3, if you so choose, craft a new story, which better represents what you'd like to see in your outside world picture. When crafting the story, remember the rules of perfect language as well as the rules for crafting transitory statements and because statements. Craft a new powerful story and repeat it to yourself often. Remember, the transitory statements are like, but I'm getting better, or but it's getting easier, but I'm taking it one day at a time. Like it's that statement that kind of tells your brain, I know you don't believe this yet, but, and keep moving forward. Let the curious scientist inside you go to work and have fun with this experiment, and always remember whatever makes you feel good will work. So keep playing with the story and changing it as you like until you achieve the outcome you desire. So this one, we have to be very aware of what we're saying. And if it's not what we want to repeat, we have to be real quick about turning it around in the moment. And if it's a new muscle we're using, we have to practice that new story we want to tell. So, for example, one of my old stories was, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I don't have the support. I don't have the energy. Being a mom to a toddler and a stay-at-home mom with a husband that worked and traveled, and I just moved to a new city, all of that. Like my story on repeat was, I don't have time. I'm too tired. I don't leave the house, blah, blah, blah. My news story was, I can meet people online. Or I'm tired, but I love meeting new people online. Like that was something that I really kind of grasped onto. Or my husband travels and I can send samples with him with his for his coworkers, or what for him to post online. So you take whatever it is that's holding you back and you figure out how you can flip it, even if it's a tiny little shift like these 10-hour days are killing me, but I have the weekend coming up soon and I know I can focus my energy there. Or um, one of my new mantras is promoting rest, and I have to pull it up because I haven't memorized it yet, but everything I've created is working for me even when I rest, because that's another thing I have a like a guilt around is like I can't do it later. I have to do it right now. Like rest is not important. So I'm reworking that one. Um, do you guys have one, like a story you keep telling that you want to, that you need help flipping?
I actually have a story that I've flipped.
Nice.
So
Yeah, let's
I
hear
can
it.
use it as an example. I kept telling myself I didn't want to be a business owner. I didn't want to be a business owner. I'm not an entrepreneur. This is not what I want to do with my life. This is what I'm stuck in now.
Yeah.
Um, and I've reworked it to, you always wanted to run someone's business. Now you're running your own. How cool is that?
How
And
cool
that
is
kind of,
that?
how cool is that, right? So
Yeah.
that has made a huge change in my day to day and how I interact with my employees,
Yeah.
how I interact with my family. Just it has changed a lot. Just that rewriting that story in general, which came from our other book club.
Yeah. I love that transitory statement. How cool is that? Yeah. Because
So
you can tack that on to anything.
yeah.
That's a really
So
good one. Thank you for
that's
sharing
my
that.
that was my big transitory news story. That's my
Yeah.
news story.
How cool is that? I love it.
Yep.
That's a good one. Debbie, did you want to say something?
I'm not even sure if this is the story, but I have so many stories. I could write a book. But for this particular story, being at home for so long and working from home during COVID and all that stuff and being home with my daughter, and then everything was going well last February, retired Pat, and now I am the person. I'm, working a lot at work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm transitioning myself from being at home to be able to have freedom to go outside and come back and regroup. I don't have that.
Yeah.
So what I did was mindfully, I transitioned my office with plants, flowers. I have a mat that says you can do anything. And so I've been finding that I have a little more extra time now to focus on the bride while I'm at work, listen to some of the calls, while I'm there. But it's been a transition that, oh, I hate going to work. I'm late, don't want to be there, leave early. That's not helping my money situation, right? So I made my office a Zen office. So I've got my diffuser going, I've got jazz music going on in the background. So I just made it like my little not so much saying it out loud, but making it happen to see it
Yeah.
for me. So
Yeah. So that transitory statement could sound like even though, because that's an example that she says, even though I have to be here, I've made it a sanctuary or I've made it a Zen office. I
mhm.
love the Zen office. Or even though I miss working from home, I'm making the best of working from the office. Um, how cool is that? I'm just gonna add that to everything now.
We're
I've made
stealing
a
it.
Zen office. How cool is that?
How cool is that?
Um, yeah, that's a good one. I think our environment plays a huge role, like having affirmations. I love that you added plants. Um, and the news story, if you want, like, yes, you have to go to work, and yes, you have to be, working there versus working at home. Um, but I wonder if there's a news story that you haven't quite uncovered yet, like like a general mantra that I use all the time is like it's always shifting in my favor. Like things are always working out for me in my favor. And so if you keep desiring and keep dreaming about working from home or working somewhere else or only working for yourself, you never know. It might pop up. One of my friends, she last year she attended a couple of my retreats and she kept saying like, I don't want to work at this job. I don't want to work in this job. Like I don't want to work in this job. And they promoted her, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, I don't know. I guess I manifested a promotion instead, and I don't want this job. She's like, I don't want to work. And so that was a couple months ago, and I just saw her last week, and she's like, well, they've mandated that we all have to go back into the office, so I guess I'm not going to have a job anymore. And I'm like, okay, so it finally happened. But anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent, but if you keep telling the news story is eventually going to show up in your life. So even though I've made my office into a Zen space, I love being at home and I love being with my family and I love extra time off. And you can just like add those little nuggets in there of what you love. And who knows, maybe the work week gets cut down to 4 days a week or something wild will happen where it'll work out in your
That's
favor.
funny you said that because I put in to ask for Fridays off.
There you go.
I cannot understand how people, it's been so long, like I say, since I've been at home working my own whatever,
Yeah,
that people only get 2 days off.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
I can't get all that stuff done in 2 days, you know?
I
I just,
know.
I can't, I'm tired all the time. I
Yeah,
lay around when I get home and it's depressing. So
yeah.
something, it's always working out in my favor.
How cool is that?
We're gonna,
How cool is that?
how cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Keep saying what you want. And so in this mindware experiment, the step one is to pay attention to what you're saying, and then step two is if you realize that the story you're telling is not what you want, then you flip it. So pay attention to what you're saying and then try to flip it around, even if it's only in your imagination, and then it will start to show up in your life. All right, for the sake of time, let's move on to Mindware experiment number 13. This is my favorite skill in this book, and this is traveling the emotional scale. So we've learned about the unconscious mind that's always working in the background for us. We've learned about the conscious mind. This is where we say mantras and affirmations and ask better questions and use the because statements and really pay attention to our thoughts. So the unconscious mind is we're aware of it now. We're paying attention to what's been on repeat. We're interrupting those repetitive cycles with these new mantras and ideas. Now we're going to look at our emotions, okay? So if you remember from earlier, our thoughts create our emotions. And I've been really paying attention to this lately because I have been in this constant emotion of like overwhelm, and I know what thoughts are creating it. So in this practice, we're going to move along the emotional scale, and this is accredited to Abraham Hicks. If anybody's familiar with Abraham Hicks, there's a emotional spiral with dozens of emotions on there if you want to Google it and save the picture. But Dana Wilde has a more like a compact version of this emotional scale. So here's the steps. Step number 1, identify your emotion. Where are you on the emotional scale? Remember, this feeling is your signal and it will always indicate to what you are thinking. So the emotions on the scale are starting from left going to the right: despair, then fear, then anger, then frustration, then hope, then belief, then knowing, and then at the far right is joy. And I like how hers goes left to right versus up and down. So number 1, identify your emotion. Number 2, be aware of your thoughts. Pay close attention to the corresponding thoughts. Remember that your thoughts create emotion, and don't beat yourself up over having the feeling. Just see the direct connection between the emotion and the thoughts. Step number 3 is make a decision to move. If you're feeling fear or worry, you know that one step over is anger. So in order to move, you must first make a decision that you want to stop feeling fearful or worried or overwhelmed or whatever it is that you're feeling, and that you want to generate the next step. So you can't jump from one end to the other. You have to only move up one step. So figure out where you are and then say, I want to move one step up, in this case, anger. Step 4 is start intentionally thinking thoughts that correspond to the very next emotion, in this case, anger. To expound on the example, you want to intentionally choose thoughts that sound and feel angry. You would literally choose to get mad about some aspect of the situation currently making you experience fear. Keep generating angry thoughts in your mind until you actually start to feel angry. So you want to move from fear up 1 to anger. Experience the better, step number 5, experience the better feeling, which is anger in this case, and experience the relief that comes with making the shift to the new emotion. Fun fact, if you can get to anger, you can take action. It's really, really hard, and Abraham Hicks talks about this, to take action when you're in despair or fear. But once you get to anger and frustration, then you're motivated to take action. So this better feeling, it's more active than the feeling of worry, and you feel a sense of relief by feeling anger, and you will have intentionally moved yourself up to a place of anger. You will want to stay with this feeling for a short while. That's the trick. Don't get stuck in this anger feeling. But soon you'll be ready to move on to the next emotion. So it says here, note, when you experience a new feeling, it will only feel good or give you that sense of relief for a short period of time. For example, when you get that first rush of anger, it will feel great, like you're taking your power back. But if you stay angry, soon it will feel terrible. This is why in this experiment you want to stay with the emotion for a few minutes, but then move along to the next feeling. Step number 6, make the next move on the scale using the steps 1 through 5 if you so wish. You can apply this strategy to any feeling on the emotional scale, and you can start where you are and move to the next spot on the scale. By implementing this Mindware experiment, you will learn how to become completely emotionally independent of any external circumstance in the world around you. When you do this, you'll realize there's no good reason to hold on to those nagging, counterproductive feelings for days. You'll also see that you can change your feelings instantly by changing your thinking, if you choose to. And the best part is, you'll see all of this can be done without much time or effort, which means you'll never have to ping pong back and forth on the scale ever again. So we're going to practice this with an example. Debbie, can we use your example of the working in the office?
Okay.
How do you feel? Maybe
I
say
would
it in a
say
sentence.
right now it would be a feeling of despair.
Okay.
Like I have to go there every day. It's
Yep.
just, yeah.
So I feel despair that I have to go there every day. Then
hmm
the next emotion is fear. What are you afraid of with this
But
having to go every day?
losing my job,
Okay.
not earning my income, and it
Okay.
makes me angry because I feel stuck, like I have to do this, and I'm not one to have someone tell me what to do. So
hmm
that makes me angry. Um, which and that goes all the way back to your, childhood of someone telling you what to do all the time.
Right.
Um, so the frustration part of it would be the how, the why, because, which then we go back a little bit on the other experiment. Um,
So you could say
frustration.
something like, I'm frustrated that I'm being told what to do and I can't do what I want.
Amen. Yes.
What do you hope for?
Um, I'm hoping to work only 4 days a week, maybe 8 hours a day, or every other day in the office because they don't need me there every day.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great one.
and
I hope I can
ev-
work less.
eventually just spending a lot more time like I used to with LeBri and doing that.
Love that. So the hope is to work less and the hope is to spend more time with LeBri. The next emotion is belief. So it could sound like, I believe this is possible because
I have to I have to get out of my comfort zone and like ask.
I believe
Ask.
it's, yeah, I believe it's possible because I haven't asked yet. So the knowing one, this one's a little bit trickier, but even just getting up to the hope step feels a lot better than despair, right?
Yeah.
And if you feel yourself slipping back down, you can climb the steps again and you can maybe, if you have to, tweak your answers so that they're more believable or they feel even better. But I think you did a great job. So despair is, I feel despair because I have to go day after day. I have to keep going there. I'm afraid that if I stop going, I'll lose my job or I won't be able to make money. And then you move into anger. I'm angry that I'm being made to do this, or I feel like somebody's telling me what to do. I'm frustrated because I have a lack of choice and freedom in this, and I don't like to be told what to do.
Mhm.
But I'm hopeful that I'll get to work less soon, and I'm hopeful that it'll create more space to do things I love. And I believe this is the highest we got so far. I believe this is possible because maybe all I
I've
have to
done
do
it.
is ask,
I've done it before.
and I've done it before. So
I've
that's
done
the
it before.
knowing step that you went up a step already.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
awesome. So no, that's perfect. So I know it's possible because I've done it before.
Okay.
Yeah. And that makes me really joyful and happy because it's a possibility and I know I love doing that and things are always working out for me, and that's when, how cool is that? It comes into play.
Well, that moved quickly. Now I feel
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
Okay.
it literally like and you did a really great job and you've practiced this a bunch, but moving up that scale, sometimes all you have to do is go back and forth with a friend or a partner, or just look at this scale and write down the sentences, to really move yourself. Because I'll tell you what, that step number 3, make a decision to move yourself, is the hardest step. Like, I've been stuck in this state of overwhelm, kind of ping-ponging back and forth between despair and fear, and I haven't really made the choice to get up into the anger, stage, just because it's a conscious effort, right? So, for me, my thing that I'm struggling with is Ellie's mystery rash. So like I feel hopeless and helpless, like that I can't figure this out for her. I'm scared that it'll get worse or that I won't know what to do. I'm angry that this is happening and that like I don't have time for this or energy for this. I'm frustrated that everything I've tried so far is not working. But I'm hopeful. We have a dermatology appointment and I'm hopeful that her skin will start to clear up soon. I believe it's possible because kids get rashes and things like this happen and they get better. And I know that this can't last forever and solutions are coming, and I'm gonna be super happy when we figure out what it is and get a treatment and plan. So it can be that fast for whatever you're dealing with. And Jess, I know you asked this, kind of at the beginning. I think it was our very first call. Um, this is the exercise I was thinking of when you were asking about like, is the book going to teach us how to like stop and respond versus react? And this is the one I always go to, um, because we really can't we really can't start to take action and solve problems until we get up to that like hope area. Sometimes it's hard to get past the hope section depending on what the situation is. Um, but it's a muscle we got to keep flexing for sure.
I actually really liked that chapter when I read it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can see this. This is one of those things that you can practice every day
Yeah.
when things hit you. So, yeah,
Yep.
I liked it.
So we did this flashback to when Debbie worked from home. We did this on Zoom every single day, twice a day during COVID. We got on Zoom and we were like, what are you feeling? And we would help each person talk through the scale, whatever it was they're feeling, and we talked them all the way up, and then we did the next person all the way up. So this is a really good practice to do with yourself or with other people. Um, because honestly, if you're working on a team and people or have employees and they're functioning in the despair, fear, anger, emotion, it's gonna keep reflecting back, right? And us as leaders too, like if we're feeling despair, fear, anger, leaders, parents, use that word however you like. It's kind of our job to get ourselves up to the knowing or belief so that we can help others get there too. Go ahead, Deb.
So that brings up a question that I have been pondering in my brain.
Mhm.
I'm running into people in general, not necessarily people I work with, family, when you read this book so much, it trains you that you do need rest. You do need this to be able to help others.
Totally.
Um, but I'm finding that as I'm growing, I'm feeling more frustrated because the people that I am speaking to haven't read this book.
Sure.
And it really brings me back to like, oh my, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like you're
Yeah.
trying to grow and be around those people who are also growing and
Right.
building themselves. That's really frustrating. Like, the people that you work with per se,
Hmm.
you're trying to talk to them from this standpoint of train your brain.
Yeah.
It's how do you maintain that? Like how do
Yeah.
you move through that? Because
I
I'd
knew
be doing the
this.
emotional scale every day.
Yep. I knew that's where you were going with this. So I once heard this quote and I was like that like this just sums it up. There's a it said something like I need therapy after therapy for being around people who haven't been to therapy after I've been like it's like once you go out into the real world knowing what you know, but the other people around you don't know what you know, it's like you got to reintroduce yourself and so here's number 3. Make yourself decide, not make yourself, make a decision to move yourself. That's the part that the other people aren't doing. So they're stuck there. They haven't made a decision to move up the scale, and we can't move them for them. They have to move themselves. So if you want to walk somebody through this, number 1, ask them, what are you feeling? Name it. Don't describe it. Just say, I feel blank. What do you feel? And then number 2, what are you thinking? So that can they might rattle off a few things, but keep it condensed. And then number 3, do you want to feel different? And they have to be able to say yes before moving forward. And then you can kind of give them these sentence stems. So if they say, I feel despair, or I feel hopeless, or I feel sad, you can help them with, I feel sad because. Now change it into a fearful statement. I'm scared of, and let them describe that. I'm angry that, let them fill it in. It frustrates me when, and then like help them move up the scale by giving them the next emotion if they want to, but you can't skip the if they, because the reality of like go read this whole book and come back to me, it's not going to happen, right? But you could in a very like 5-10 minute conversation. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Do you want to change that? And then kind of go through it with them. So that's the best advice I have for that, Deb.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay, we have 13 more minutes. The next 2 are very short. They're almost like explanations. So, Mindware Experiment 14 is what is knowing? So, knowing is, okay, it says for Mindware Experiment 14, each and every time you're faced with an important task which needs to be accomplished or carried out, simply ask yourself 2 questions. Can I trust in the process or system? Have others done it successfully? So, do you have examples of this working? Do I know a method that has worked for other people? Is there a technique that I trust to work? So those can all apply to the can I trust the process? Have others done it successfully? Have others accomplished what I want to accomplish? Do others possess some special talent or magical power, or did they just learn certain skills which helped them accomplish certain tasks at hand? If another person learned how to accomplish, do I think I can learn how to accomplish this? So these 2 questions will help you get up into that knowing. So, for example, I'm going to use Jess's example of I want to lose 20 pounds. Do I have examples of other people losing 20 pounds in a system that worked for them? Do I know of a method that might work for losing 20 pounds? Is there a technique that I trust to work to lose 20 pounds? Have others been able to lose 20 pounds? So, like, you take whatever your goal is and you ask yourself these questions. Can I trust a process that will get me there? And have others been able to get to where I want to go? And that will help you get up to that knowing emotion on the scale. Pretty straightforward for that one. Now, belief, this one is experiment 15, beyond belief. It says that most of us don't give ourselves enough credit for all that we understand about the world or about our own lives. We don't give others enough credit for all the things that we know. We don't give ourselves enough credit for all the things we know. We've come to depend on evidence beyond our control and simply wait for the good signs to appear. So, when we run our own business or any new endeavor, we go into it with anxiety and apprehension. So remember, as you train your brain to manage worry and fear and doubt, you're building your own case for success. You're deciding to examine all the good evidence in your life. You're creating a feeling that nothing will stop you from learning what you need to learn to build a financially thriving business. You're building a case that you know you will succeed. As I said earlier, you already have plenty of good, positive evidence. The more you think about what you already know, the more easily you can go beyond feelings of hope and belief to confidence, certainty, and knowing. And when you get yourself into this state of knowing more consistently, your business will skyrocket. You accomplish this by continually asking yourself, what do I know already? What are my past successes? And what am I particularly good at? Think about it. There was a time when you couldn't send an email or tie your shoes or wash laundry or prepare a meal. There are thousands of tasks you've already learned. Maybe you can play a musical instrument or you have a hobby you are proficient at. Maybe you make a darn good batch of chili. Maybe you can drive a car or ride a bicycle or dye your own hair or change your oil or speak another language or are terrific at crossword puzzles. So why then should learning the skills to run a successful business be any different for you? For Mindware Experiment 15, a pen and paper is all you'll need. I want you to make a list of some of the things you know, things that at one time you couldn't carry out, get done, or complete, and are now able to do without much effort. You might want to think of accomplishments in your adult life. If you went back to the time of your infancy, obviously this would be a funny and extensive list. So just think in broad strokes for this experiment. In other words, what does past experiences show you that you've learned? Think about aspects of your life that have become ordinary for you. Maybe it's cooking certain foods, riding a bike, sending emails, or driving a car. Though these kinds of tasks may seem mundane to you now, you still had to learn how to do them at first. Think about any job you've had and how quickly you became proficient at it. Think about hobbies and skills you've mastered. Are you proficient at music, language, computers, writing, sewing, woodwork, sports, or yoga? List anything you had to learn and can now say with great confidence, I know how. Examining your past accomplishments and all the things you already know makes running a successful business just another learned set of skills. So for this Mindware experiment, that's exactly what you'll be doing. You'll be moving yourself into a feeling of knowing. So because of the time, I want to kind of talk through this so that you can practice it on your own too, or like when you can practice this on your own, like when it will have the most impact. So when you're moving up the emotional scale and you get to hope and you get to belief and you get to knowing and you're having a hard time staying in that area, like maybe you feel like you're sliding back down, this is a great experiment to do. So put it in your reminders, like whenever I'm feeling like I'm sliding down the scale, get out a piece of paper and just write down all the things you're good at. I was feeling really low the other day about this rash, and it was really powerful for me to start listing off all the things that I do know how to do and that I am good at, because diagnosing skin conditions is usually something I'm pretty good at. But in this instance, it was like, this is out of my wheelhouse, but I can ask for help. So definitely keep this experiment in your back pocket to move you to that state of belief when you're having a hard time getting there, especially when you're working on a goal that feels kind of out of your reach. So this last experiment for tonight is Mindware Experiment 16. And I'm going to kind of skip around in here. So hope is on that emotional scale, and in here it kind of talks about like, why is hope enough? Like, why is it enough to get to that hope section? Um, this is where the real shift happens because a lot of us are spending time in despair, fear, or anger around our business or whatever it is our goal is that we're having a hard time getting to. Like Rosemary had mentioned earlier, like the last day of the month sounds like a very fearful, stressful time. And on the other hand, many entrepreneurs dip in and out of the frustration. So you might be ping ponging between the anger and frustration, maybe not the fear and despair. So, why is it so important to get over that frustration hump into hope? Why is it enough to just get to the hope area? Because we really want to eliminate the ping ponging, especially between frustration and hope. We want to get to a place of hope on the emotional scale and sustain this feeling as long as possible. So, this is really simple. Um, you're going to travel the emotional scale up to hope, except this time you're focusing only on the movement between frustration and hope. To execute this experiment, whenever you feel frustrated or overwhelmed, take a pause, take a deep breath, and start coming up with phrases or statements beginning with the words, I hope. And this is what I was doing with Ellie's rash. I hope I start to feel better. I hope I find a way to get my business moving. I hope I find a method that makes my business easier. I hope I get some people to buy my product. I hope someone walks up to me out of the blue and buys something. I hope I make a lot of money in my business. I hope I attain my goals. I hope I start to feel more positive. I hope my business grows this year. I hope things improve, and I hope I can think of another hope sentence. That's my favorite one. I hope I can think of another hope sentence. When you've said your hope statements a few times, pay close attention to how you feel. If you feel your emotions dipping back into frustration, consistently applying the hope statements wards off counterproductive thinking right away. It will get you quickly back into that hopeful feeling again. Keep saying these hope phrases until you experience emotional movement towards genuine feelings of hope. On another note, when you first start using these, though you're making hopeful statements, they might sound or feel more like frustration than hope to you. However, if you say them for several minutes, you'll begin to feel the emotions soften, your mood lighten, and you'll immediately start to feel better. This is a natural process because, again, thoughts equal emotion. So the better thoughts translate into better feelings. There is more good evidence that this is working successfully for you. What evidence, you ask? The evidence is that you feel good, because that's the whole point. The whole point is to not solve our goals or attain our goals. The goal is to feel better. So as long as we can shift our thoughts enough to shift our feelings, everything else will work itself out. So keep these I hope statements ready, especially if you feel yourself shifting or ping-ponging into frustration. And I can say this has worked really well for me the last couple days of like, I hope Ellie feels better in the morning. I hope her skin isn't itchy. I hope that the dermatologist will have answers. Just keep repeating the hope statements instead of spiraling back down into despair. Any questions? I know I went through both of those back to back, belief and hope.
Both sound like good exercises to do throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely more powerful when you do them like in the moment, whatever it is you're struggling with. For sure.
These are great things for me to practice this weekend, so it will be nice.
Yay. Put them in your toolkit, your brain experiment toolkit.
Yes.
All right, y'all, 7:59. So next week, let me pull up my little notes here. We're gonna finish the chapters. The chapters we have left are chapters 36 through 39, so not a lot. And then on next call, we have 4 experiments left, 17, 18, 19, and 20. 17 is a breathing mindware experiment. So if you're familiar with breath work, you're going to love that one. 18 is changing your body language. 19 is asking better questions with very, very specific examples. And then 20, our last one, is generating your own positive expectations. And that one has a lot of good examples in it too. So our next call, we probably won't need the whole hour for those 4, but hey, we might. We might need the whole hour. So any questions before we hop off? No? Okay. I love you guys. Thanks for being on. I'll see you next week.
Have a
Thank
good rest of your
you.
week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.